Okay, and this is the assignment here, and this is the next one. A cat leaps into the air with an initial velocity of 12 feet per second. Now this is a review problem that we did last week. To catch a speck of dust and he falls back to the floor. How long does a cat remain in the air? We have feet and seconds. We'll always be finding the seconds here. So we've done this before, okay? So you got feet and seconds. So seconds is x, that's your time, feet is y. Now the feet per second is quite apparent, that's 12, but it's not the constant, it's an initial. It's because you see the cat, he goes up and he comes down. So that means no table. Making a table for this is impossible. So that means I make it into a parabola. So when I make parabolas, I need to know where the cat started and where he ended at. Okay. Now today, he started at 0 feet. Okay. He starts from the ground and he lands on the ground. Okay. So now, I need kind of a bigger box here to write a parabola equation, and then we slot it. X is second plus slot x plus constant slot equals y. So again, right there, remember what that is? That's gravity, because gravity is pulling the cat back down. That's always negative 16. It's negative 9.8 in physical science because that's meters. That's a metric system. Now we're talking feet. The feet per second's right there. That's called your rate. And the constant's where the cat started, and it's 0. So since we got 0, you can get rid of that. Now on the other end of the parabola, that's the number you put into the equation. It's 0 feet, and feet equals y. Okay. So y is replaced with 0. So now write that equation so it doesn't look so terrible. Okay. You know, we did the dirty work here. So now I solve it. Okay. So x has two answers. We have x as second, we have x as first, so we have to factor to solve the equation. So you're set, okay, you're at 0, and I have two terms, okay. Two-term factoring is just a GCF. There's not going to be no T-table, at least GCF for now. So I don't go to a table after that. Okay, so you have x, yep. Negative, yes you do. 16 and 12, okay, so here's 12, I do not see 16, 12, nope, 12, 16, so it'd be 4. And then I go divide by negative 4x, okay. So that's going to be positive 4. X second divided by x is always x. A positive 12 divided by negative 4 is a negative 3, so I express that as minus 3. Then we're equal to 0, okay? So those are your two factors, okay? And so you got negative 4x times 4x minus 3 equals 0. So that's F1, F2 right there. That's how we did two terms. There's just two terms you had to factor. So negative 4x could equal 0, or 4x minus 3 could equal 0. So you divide by negative 4 and you get 0. Then we got times 4 minus 3. So I'm going to plus 3. That's 3. So 4 times x equals 3. Then divide by 4. That's a decimal. You can write the decimal, or if you second PRB equals, it's 3/4. Now, here's what those represent. The x of 0 goes with this, okay? That's where he started, 0 seconds, but I don't care about that. He's at 0 seconds there because he hasn't jumped yet. And that's why that 0's there. Now over here, this is your 3/4 of a second. That's where that goes, and that's the answer they want to know. We did that last week. Now the game's going to change. An athlete throws a discus from an initial height of 6 feet with an initial velocity of 46 feet per second. For how many seconds is a discus in the air? So again, we're going to forget all these lines. Don't worry about that. I used to teach this a different way, but I've came up with this way. X is seconds, Y is feet, and we're always finding the seconds here. So per feet per second. Okay, feet per second is 46. And again, what does a discus do? Well, it goes up and then comes back down. So it's going to be a parabola. All right, so on this parabola, you want to mark where it started and then where it ended. Now, it did not start at 0. Before the 46 feet per second, you see it started at 6 feet. Okay. Now, it comes back, it does hit the ground, 0 feet. This changes things. Okay. So I do my slot x this second plus slot x plus constant slot equals y. So this is your gravity. This is your velocity, 46. Now the starting height is not 0, it's 6. Okay. Now we still insert that 0 feet on the other side of the parabola, on the downside, equal to y. So now write that. Now you got negative 16x this second plus 46x plus 6 equals 0. Okay. Now, got some things going on here. So, two answers, okay? You got x second and you got x, okay? So again, you have to apply factoring properties. So we're set, but now there are 3 things to factor instead of 2. So 3 things will mean I go to my GCF. You still want to do that. There are going to be some GCFs here. Then we go to our table. Okay, so GCF. Don't have x, you do have a negative, so you'll put a negative. You don't put an x though, because there's no x. So 16, 46, and 6. So let's look at 6's row. Nope. 6. Nope. 6. 16, 46, so a 2 gets factored out, okay? So you're going to put that, okay? Okay, so it's going to be positive 8. Now the x second isn't being divided, so it will remain x to the second, because we're not dividing by x down here. Positive 46 divided by negative 2 is negative 23, x. 6 divided by negative 2 is negative 3. Okay. Now, here's what we do after that. You place this negative 2 right here. The GCF is placed right here. Just place it outside if you have a GCF. Now, you're like my T-chart. How do I do that? Well, you're going to do the ABC from here, okay? Because now that's what we're factoring, not the top, okay? Now we're to this. So I take 8 times negative 3, that's negative 24. So that's a mismatch. And they have to add to negative 23. So it's a positive, so the negative side's dominant. 1 and 24 is it, okay? We have that. So now we make our parentheses. And you put your plus 1 and your minus 24. Now what's your A? Go look up your A. It's 8x to the second. So we know we go xx, then we go 8 and 8. Now 8 and 1 is just 1, so I just drop that. Okay. Now put that 8x plus 1 right alongside your 2. Then over here, 8 and 24, look that up. Here's 8, here's 2, okay, so 8. That's going to be 1x minus 3. Cross those out after you've divided them down. Okay, you can take the 1 off the x, and that's x minus 3 equals 0. Now you're probably wondering, what do I do now? I've never seen 3 of them. Does this have an x in this parentheses? No, so don't worry about it. Those are the 2 factors I use to get my answers. So 8x plus 1 could equal 0, or x minus 3 could equal 0. Minus 1, 8 times x equals negative 1, divide by 8, divide by 8. decimal, second PRB, that's negative 1/8. So go put that here. On the story problems, I would do your parentheses outside. Then plus 3, I'm at 3. Now, only one of these answers I bring over here. The one with the negative, I ditch. I want to see it there, but just cross it out. So it's really 3 seconds. Now, the reason you got a negative here is because we want to know when it's at 0 feet. It was never at 0 feet on the way up because it started at 6 feet. So that's why you're getting a negative there. Okay, it's a positive that you're going to put 3 seconds. Okay, next problem. A football is thrown in the air at an initial height of 5 feet with a velocity of 16 feet per second. After how many seconds does it land on the ground? So again, we want to know the seconds. So again, feet and seconds. Seconds is x, feet is y. So per feet per second. Feet per second is going to be 16. So again, it goes up, comes down, so that means a table is not possible. So instead, we make a parabola, mark the starting and the ending. Well, before 16 feet per second, we see we had 5 feet, okay? Then it goes all the way down to the ground, that's 0 feet. And now I make my equation, okay? I'll do the parentheses, I'll set up all my parentheses outside, okay? Okay, so this is gravity, negative 16. 16, you can have, okay, so I got 16 twice, and then 5. Now, 0 feet is the input, and it's in for y, not the input, but it goes into the equation. 0. So you have negative 16x to the second power plus 16x plus 5 equals 0. Now, again, the equation has 2 answers. We have x to the second, x to the first, so we have to use factoring, okay? Okay, so 3 terms, GCF, followed by the table. See, on that very first problem I did, there were only 2 terms to factor. Now there's 3, so I'm going to have to go table after that. Now you are going to do a GCF here, okay? For the first time on a 3 term, you're actually going to do the GCF. Now, you might not have x, but you do have a negative, so you put a negative. 16, 16, and 5. So I'm just looking 5 and 16 then, if I have a repeat value. 5, no 16. There's a 5, here's a 16, so it's 1, but hey, it's negative 1, so we're doing it, okay? So 16x to the second, negative 16x minus 5. Now, place your negative 1 over there, okay? Now, one thing I'm going to tell you, I didn't do it on the last problem. When you place your GCF off this side, cross it out. So now you know exactly what your ABC is, because sometimes I'll have people put an A there. After you've placed it, cross it out. So 16 times negative 5 is negative 80. So that's a mismatch. All these are going to be mismatched. And we're adding to negative 16. So the dominant side's negative, this side's positive. 1 and 80, nope. 80 divided by 2 is 40, so the number I divided by, the answer I get, nope. 80 divided by 3 is a decimal, so nope. 80 divided by 4 is 20. Well, that's it, okay? So plus 4 minus 20. Now what's your A? A is 16x to the second. So xx, and I will place 16 in front of each of my x's. Okay? 16, that's a 16 there. Okay, 16 and 4, what do we got? There's a 4, there's a 16, so it would be 4. Okay, so I'll be placing a 4x plus 1, then 16 and 20. There's 16, there's no 20. There's a 16 and 20, that's 4. Okay. Also, I skipped the 8 row, but there's no 20 in the 8 row. So it's 4x minus 5. Okay, now this has no x, so I do not use it to solve. Okay, so 4x plus 1 could equal 0, or 4x minus 5 could equal 0. Here there's no x to solve for. So minus 1, that takes me to negative 1. Divide by 4, negative 0.25, or you can put negative 1/4. Then over here, plus 5, divide by 4, it's either 1.25, or if you second PRB it, it's 1 1/4. So the negative answer is garbage, okay? So 1 1/4 is how many seconds that took. Okay, next problem, number 4. A cliff diver jumps from a ledge of 96 feet above the ocean with an initial velocity of 16 feet per second. After how many seconds does a diver hit water? Okay, so you got feet, seconds. So feet and seconds. Seconds is x, feet is y. So per feet per second is 16. Diver goes up. You know how a diver jumps off a diving board up and then he comes back down. Okay, so that diver starts at 96 feet. Just mark it. Doesn't have to look like a great graph. And he lands in water, so we're assuming that's at 0 feet. So yeah, this point's higher than this point, but don't worry about it. Okay. So x is second plus x plus constant equals y. So this is going to be the gravity. This is 16, and this is your starting height, which is 96. Then 0 equals y. Okay, so we have two answers. We have an x second and an x, so we're using our factoring properties. So GCF, because we have 3 terms again. Now we got that third term in there. And then the table, the trinomial table. No x, negative, you bet. Okay. But we're not putting an x. 16, 16, and 96, because there is no x on that one. So 16, 96, so we're going with 16. Now, negative 16 divided by negative 16 is 1. X is second. 16 divided by negative 16 is negative 1x. 96 divided by negative 16 is negative 6. Okay. Now, you put the GCF out here. When you have one, cross it out. Okay, now you're going with this. So I take 1 times negative 6, that's negative 6. So I'm thinking mismatch again. We have to add to negative 1. So the mismatch will take me to a negative in the dominant, positive here. 1 and 6, no. Divide by 2, you get 3, and that's it. Okay. Interesting thing here, plus 2 minus 3. We have 1x to the second for a. Well, now I'm back to 1. Good old 1 is just 1, 1, and then x to the second is x, x. Now, 1 and 2 would just be in 1's row, so I don't do anything here. You just drop it, okay? 1 and 3 is in 3's row, so we'll drop that. We'll take the 1's off. It's just x plus 2 and x minus 3. Don't need that. F1, F2. So x plus 2 equals 0, x minus 3 equals 0. So it's negative 2 and positive 3. Ditch the negative, 3 is the answer. Okay, 3 seconds. Okay. A baseball is hit into the air at an initial height of 4 feet with a velocity of 30 feet per second. How many seconds is it in the air? Okay, so again, feet and seconds. Seconds is x, feet is y. So and we're finding the seconds. So feet per second is 30. Okay, now, but it goes up, comes down. Okay, so it starts at 4 feet, we see that, and then it's going to land on the ground, 0 feet. Assuming, if they don't tell you where it lands, assuming it lands on the ground. So gravity, negative 16, then 30, and then 4. Then 0 feet equals y. Okay, get y out of there, and now we have negative 16x to the power of 2 plus 30x plus 4 equals 0. All right, so there's two answers to dig out of this equation. Two roots is what it's called. You got x squared and x to the first. You have to use factoring properties. Okay. No x. Oh, sorry, I'm not ready yet. Okay. We're set. Okay. You're set. And you have 3 terms now to factor. Again, the very first problem I did, there was only 2, so I just did the GCF and knew I was going to be good. Now I have to go GCF, then take it a step further with the table. There is not an x. There is, however, a negative. 16, 30, and 4. So 30 is not here. It'd be 2. Okay. So then I go up and divide by negative 2. So that's 8x to the second minus 15x, because it's negative 15, and then negative 2, so minus 2. Now, take that negative 2 over here, just like you would on a normal problem, then you keep going right here. A, B, C. Remember, cross that out so you don't label that the A, okay? A lot of people do that. 8 times negative 2 is negative 16, so positive, so mismatch. We're adding to negative 15. Positive, negative, so 116. Okay, so A is 8x to the second power. Okay, remember that. So I put in my plus 1 minus 16, and the A is 8x to the second. So to get these two to add, make 8x to the second, we're going to start with 8x, 8x. 8 and 1 would just be 1, so that would just stay the same. So I put that 8x plus 1 over there. And the 8 and the 16 are both in H row. That would be 1x minus 2. You don't need the 1. Just go to x minus 2 equals 0. Okay, I don't care about that. It doesn't have an x. I mean, I put it there because that's standard protocol, but F1, F2 these are my 2 I use to get the roots. So 8x plus 1 equals 0, x minus 2 equals 0. Eight times x equals negative 1. You can divide that into a decimal, or PRB, it's negative 1/8. Not that I really care about that because it's a negative. 2 is the legit answer. Okay.